Welcome back to another edition of Build Order Tutorials. This tutorial is going to go over PvP, proxy dark shrine, although it's actually a hidden dark shrine, not so much a proxy. As always with these Build Order tutorials, there will be an audio version that you can listen to while you're playing, as well as the actual text on the screen, as well as down below in the comments. So, here we go. Start off with your 14 pylon. Sixteen rather, gateway. At 17, get 2 gas geysers, assimilators. Build a gateway at 18, and send that probe to your hidden location. Put all 3 probes in each gas geyser. When your gateway finishes up, build a cybernetics core, around 20 supply. $22 supply, build that pylon in the hidden location. At 23, build your Twilight Council, and after your cybernetics core is done. Start your warpgate. Get 2 adepts and stop building probes. You should be fully saturated in your gas geysers and your mineral line. 27, build a mothership core. At 28, get a pylon. Don't forget to chrono your warp gate. You should be getting your dark shrine around now. Mine is a little late. It's 2 stalkers. There's the dark shrine. And then send that proxy location probe to your opponent's base and a little away from their natural, probably around their 3rd. Your adepts can shade in to get a decent scout. Build a nexus at 33 supply. And build a proxy pylon now near your opponent. Turn your gateways into warp gates. Warp in 2 DTs and send them to your opponent's base. You can start building probes again now. You probably want to chrono the next, no, the blink actually, as you start blink at 38. Chrono that. Your second nexus should be done and building probes. In around 5 minutes, get your robo. And then build a gateway. Get a total of 3 gateways. Keep building probes. Warp in a sentry. Get a forge around this time. Keep warping in stalkers when you can. Get an observer from your finished robo. Don't forget to build a protective pylon at your natural to overcharge. Get both assimilators at your natural. Start +1 attack. Here you can either start an immortal or instantly start your 3rd base, depending on how safe you feel. I started my immortal. Saturate your natural gases. Blink should be done, so definitely chrono that +1 attack. Or the immortal again, depending on how safe you feel. Around now, you should be getting your 3rd base unless you're dealing with an attack. Keep building immortals. Get 2 extra gateways at this point. And that's the build. Just keep macroing after that. Let's go into the build discussion. Alright, the strengths of this build, there's not too many because it is kind of the epitome of cheese, but there are a couple. The surprise factor can get an easy win. So if you don't like PvP or you just really are looking for like short games, this is probably a build to do. The DTs can be used throughout the game, obviously, so you get to mid-game, you get to late game, you can always try and send a DT in to get a couple of kills or at least keep your opponent back. It's also going to be your scouting, so be, I guess, a little careful about just diving on top of probes with your first two DTs. And then it can technically make a macro game. Obviously, in the build that I did, we ended up getting to a 3rd base, but there's going to be a lot of other complications, like them trying to maybe counterattack, so it can technically get to a macro build. So it's not the, you're not pulling your probes, I suppose. The weaknesses of the build is that it is easily scouted with a scouting probe. This is probably the biggest weakness, is that, PvP scouting with a probe early is pretty common just because you get so much information, as there's something that can kill it until you get the adepts or mothership core, basically. So when you see that 2 gases are put down that quickly and they're filled to the brim with the probes, they're gonna know something is up unless they just decide not to pay attention, basically, which is possible because in early leagues, below diamond, I would say, it's very possible they don't know what they're scouting for. Hidden tech is scouted for the use of DTs. Or research from the Twilight Council is done and over with. You can't use any more DTs, so they don't have to worry about that. They're probably going to be more aggressive out on the map, knowing that you're behind, and you won't be able to get your Twilight Council upgrade. So if that dies, you're going to have to remake it, and you're going to be just really far behind. There's no scouting from you until the DTs warp in, so if they're going for a proxy Stargate or something equally cheesy or surprising, you might die. You do get a decently timed mothership core, which should be able to overcharge at least once on the pylon in your main, but it's still something that you're not going to be able to prepare for. And finally, it is possibly blind countered by robo play. It's, blind counter, hard counter, kind of difficult words to really use, because even if they have a robo, there's a possibility the observer is somewhere else, or they just aren't very good with their multitasking and can't bring the observer in multiple locations. So even if you scout a robo with your DTs, don't just automatically think that you're dead. Keep trying to send your DTs different locations, poke and prod and then leave, and just constantly, keep it threatening that you have DT possibility. Really quickly, the suggested maps, any. You can do cheese on any map, I suppose, if your heart really is in it, and you can definitely hide a dark shrine on any map, just as long as it's out of the typically scouted pathway. So 2-player map, you can do it. 4-player map, you can do it. Big map, small map. Keep in mind that in PvP, it doesn't matter how big the map is, unless it's like 8-player spawn. They're probably going to get a probe scout into your base and realize what's going on before you execute the DT strategy. But yeah, technically any map is fine. Tips and tricks for this build: place pylons around mineral lines to use overcharge on in case of Stargate opener or anything really. This is just a general Protoss tip. Use your pylons wisely, cover your mineral lines first, then the front of your natural, then around your thirds and around your good tech and all that good jazz. But especially here where you're not getting a lot of scouting early on, probably the worst thing that you're going to encounter is either like them doing a Dark Shrine build too, or Stargate opener, in which case the Mothership Core will at least save your probes initially. Remember to build pylons in front of natural after expanding, so just don't, have them only covering the mineral line. Get 1, 2, or 3, depending on how scared you are, in front of that nexus so you can use your Mothership Core to protect you in case your DTs don't do enough damage. Keep hidden tech out of Xel'Naga vision and common scouting pathways, should be a no-brainer. Depending on damage inflicted with DTs, counterattacks can be more or less likely. Placing down gateways or making immortals earlier if you fear an attack is sometimes necessary. So I went over that a little bit in the actual build order, but it makes a lot of sense. If your DTs do absolutely no damage, they have an observer and units, and they just kill them instantly, or they find your Dark Shrine after killing your DTs, and you can't make any more, they're going to feel very confident and might push into you. And if you don't have anything to protect yourself back at home, except like a couple emergency DTs, probably going to work out. So just try and remember that this is still a build. You're going to have to use some of your own thought after the execution. And finally, utilize DT's past attempted dives on mineral lines that can keep your opponent at home. Again, I'm kind of over that in the build order, but basically, it's really tempting to get the 20 probe kills, and 20 probe kills is probably worth the dive, but if it's only going to be 5, then it probably isn't. Just getting that DT out of there and making sure that they know a DT can always come back in is going to keep either all of their army back at home or a portion of their army back at home, so you don't have to worry so much about that counterattack I was talking about earlier. Want to see this build being used by a professional gamer? Then here you go. I think I only have one here and now, as this is a very easy cheese to scout. It's usually not the best thing to do in pro games, but it is nonetheless a fun and potentially easy win for any of you who aren't pro gamers. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any build order tutorials that you would like to see, then definitely comment down below with the description of it, and I can try and get that going on my docket list of things to do. And thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.